In 450 BC, a 14-year-old girl named Seneca hears boots pounding toward her family's home. The door explodes inward. Two Spartan officers grab her arms. She screams for her mother, but her mother turns away because Seneca's crime isn't theft or treason. Her crime is being born female in a state that treats women like breeding cattle. But that's not even the worst part. What I'm about to reveal isn't just Sparta's secret. Across the ancient world, in the civilizations your history teacher called enlightened, women faced systematic breeding programs that make modern horror stories look tame. I'm talking about a civilization that inspected newborn girls like livestock before deciding if they deserved to live. An empire where women were rented out for breeding like tools in a shed. And a ritual in the so-called birthplace of democracy where virgins were randomly impregnated by strangers under the guise of religious honor. And here's the part that should terrify you. What you're about to hear isn't from the Dark Ages. This is the foundation of Western civilization. Sparta, Rome, Athens, the societies we study, romanticize, and quote in graduation speeches. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why historians tried to bury this story for 2,000 years. So, hit that subscribe button right now because once you see the evidence, you'll never look at ancient history the same way again. Let me be brutally clear about something your textbooks won't say. Ancient societies didn't just oppress women. They systematically engineered them. Women weren't people with rights. They were reproductive vessels measured by one metric. Could they produce strong children for the state? And we're not talking about scattered tribes or fringe cults. Sparta shaped Greek military culture. Rome built legal systems still used today. Athens literally invented democracy for men. These weren't primitive societies stumbling in the dark. They were sophisticated empires with philosophy, architecture, and law codes. These breeding systems lasted over 1,000 years and stripped millions of women of control over their own bodies, as states treated their wombs like state property. This was not religion or tradition. It was engineered population control. Governments calculated how many soldiers they needed and forced women into breeding roles that met their quotas. Let us begin with the state that turned eugenics into law long before modern history. Imagine you are a Spartan woman who has just given birth after hours of painful labor. Before you can even hold your daughter, a state official takes the newborn, inspects her bones, limbs, and muscle tone under the light, and decides whether she is worthy of survival. Thousands failed this inspection. Many were abandoned on Mount Tetus to die of exposure, others were sold into slavery before their umbilical cords dried. Plutarch described this process, noting how unfit infants were taken to a chasm called a pothe, the place of rejection. Archaeology confirms these accounts with infant remains dating back to the 6th century BC. But survival was only the beginning. At 18, you would be assigned a husband based not on love but genetic potential. He was chosen for strength and lineage. You were judged by hip width and family fertility. Your wedding night involved a shaved head, men clothing, and a brief state-mandated encounter as your husband slipped in from the barracks, only to leave minutes later. If he was weak or aging, the law allowed him to loan you to a stronger man for breeding. Over 4 centuries, historians estimate around 40,000 Spartan women lived under this system. But as harsh as it was, another empire turned forced reproduction into an industry. Rome. Rome's breeding system was industrial and brutally calculated, but at least the Romans admitted what it was. These women were slaves, and Rome never pretended otherwise. But method number 3 involves a civilization we call the birthplace of democracy, and what they did was hidden behind the language of sacred honor. Athens made Rome look merciful. Imagine a 7-year-old Athenian girl chosen for the Arrephoria, a ritual meant to honor Athena. Priests take her to live on the Acropolis for 4 years. She weaves sacred robes, performs secret nighttime ceremonies, and her parents celebrate as if she has received the highest honor. But ancient texts hint at something far darker. The geographer Pausanias wrote about underground tunnels, sacred objects carried in secrecy, and vague references to divine conception. For centuries these descriptions were treated as religious metaphor, until excavations in the 1950s uncovered those tunnels along with medical tools, stone tables, and inscriptions referring to Athena-chosen vessels. Modern analysis suggests the unthinkable. Prepubescent girls ages 7 to 11 may have been subjected to sacred union rituals performed by priests claiming divine authority. Families called it honor because Athens wrapped exploitation in holy language. These were not slaves, these were citizens' daughters. Then comes the practice most people think is medieval fiction, just primi noctis, the rite of the first night. Historians often dismiss it as myth, but Hammurabi Code and Egyptian New Kingdom papyri list fees women paid to avoid sacred first union. Those who could not pay were legally accessible to powerful men. Variations of this appear in Mesopotamian, Hittite, and Roman records, and evolve through medieval Europe. Its shadow reached modern law. Marital rape was not criminalized in the final U.S. state until 1993. Nearly 3,700 years of legal systems treated women's bodies as property. Athens' sacred abuse evolved into religious institutions that covered up child abuse for centuries, and Zuprim Noctis evolved into marital rape laws that did not fully disappear until 30 years ago. These were not anomalies. They were not products of less enlightened times. They were systematic legal frameworks designed to control women's reproduction, and they worked for over 2,000 years. Here is the part that should keep you up at night. This is not fully historical. Forced marriage is still legal in 12 countries today. Marital rape exceptions still exist in over 30 nations. Child marriage is legal in 48 U.S. states with parental consent. The UN estimates that 650 million women alive today were married before age 18, 12 million girls are married each year. That is 1 every 2 seconds. So when you see ancient ruins and marble statues, remember Sinuska, remember the nameless women in Roman breeding cells, remember the 7-year-olds who disappeared into Athens tunnels and came back blessed by the gods. Because their stories did not end. They just changed language. Here is what I want to know. Which of these shocked you most? The Spartan inspections, Rome breeding farms, Athens sacred abuse, or the fact that similar systems still exist? Comment below. But be warned, there is more we could not say on YouTube because of content guidelines. And if this opened your eyes to how much history gets sanitized, subscribe right now because next week I am revealing the breeding practices that still exist in isolated communities that governments will not talk about. Some of this footage has never been shown before. You thought the ancient world was brutal. Wait until you see what is happening today. I will see you in the next one.